Welcome all to Worldline's Rise India 2021 conference. This particular session is all about discussing trends and innovations in the global payment space. I'm Sunil, and I'm the moderator for the session. I head strategy, products, and analytics for Worldline India. Today, my three very distinguished guests are Stephan Blachier, Nicolas Kozakiewicz, and Santi Ristol. Stephan is the head of Worldline Labs. Worldline Labs is at the forefront of ideation in the payment space. The vision of Worldline Labs is to identify, experiment, and harvest emerging technologies and usages to serve sustainable customer journeys while relying on a solid practice for global innovation and intellectual property management. They are involved in many spaces, including AI, ML, natural language processing, fraud detection. I've had the pleasure of interacting with many people from Worldline Labs, and I always come out enriched from all my interactions. Nicolas is the head of global R&D and innovation at Worldline, leading teams to focus and find, evaluate, prioritize, and drive to market reality all the disruptive technologies / usages, instilling innovation, igniting new services, and increasing performances and efficiency in our portfolio. Among many other things, Nicolas is an expert on blockchains, stablecoins, CBDCs. I've interacted with Nicolas for many years now, and needless to say, always an entertaining and very brain-enriching experience with Nicolas. Santi Ristol is the director of Worldline's Mobile Competence Center located in Barcelona, Spain, and it provides its services worldwide. The Mobile Competence Center is a leader in the development and implementation of mobile solutions for enterprises. I've had the pleasure of interacting with Santi quite closely in our Worldline scientific community, and he's just super intelligent and always a pleasure to interact with. So welcome all. Let me start with Stephan. Stephan, can you tell us what the mission of Worldline Labs is and why it was founded in the first place?
Yeah, sure. Hello, everyone. Thank you, Sunil, for the question. Sunil, I'm not sure I'm glad you asked the question, because that will remind me that when I joined Worldline 20 years ago, the lab already existed. It wasn't under this name, but it was probably created 25 years ago, and Worldline was a much, much more smaller company than now. People my generation will remember these days when the web started to be something that we all discover. At Worldline, we thought that being masters of these new technologies, because you remember we were talking old technologies and new technologies at that time. So we thought that having a team looking at those new technologies and mastering before the competition was going to help us make a big differentiation. And this is what we did. So we created the lab to explore those technologies and make sure that we explore and confirm that they are available to be used by the delivery team, and so we could make them available to those delivery teams. Today, the lab has two missions, as you started to mention, Sunil. The first one is to promote and stimulate innovation, and the second, as I said, is explore new technologies, explore disruptive technologies, and what I mean by that is technologies will be used for products and services that will push to the market in the 3 to 5 years timeframe. Our activities goes from research, sometimes fundamental research, and then it goes to building proof of concepts and even sometimes production pilots for our customers in order to test those technologies and apply them to use cases that suits our customers. This is what we can say about the lab, Sunil.
Sure. Thank you, Stephan. Nicolas, you've been a futurist. Sorry, no, I should not use the past tense. You are a futurist. From your from where you sit, can you tell me some of the trends that you're seeing in the global payment space?
Sure, thanks, Sunil. But before answering the topics, I would like to underline a very important fact for innovation, is the broadness of activities and geographical reach. Just to make a sad comparison, innovation is like a virus, but a good one, of course. It starts somewhere, then it spreads here, there, hops over there, and finally it gets its full coverage. And Worldline has the perfect structure for that. Worldline works with businesses as different as merchants, retailers, banks, fintechs, industries, transport providers, cities, states. And overlapping each other, the coverage is huge. And of course, in almost all parts of the world, which means that when a trend reaches the surface somewhere for a given industry, Worldline can foster its adoption there, but in the following industries and regions, mastering and leveraging the core of the technology and trend. A concrete example, sometimes things as simple as text messages. At the very beginning, we used it for games and various real-time interaction, like TV programs where you were answering questions. But it's also used for one-time passwords. Very useful when you need to guarantee that it's really you and you need just one-time passwords. Great. Or it's used also as payment means in some part of the world with mobile money, like in Africa, Southeast Asia, and things like that. Same technology used really in different environments. So getting back to your question, the most prevalent trends I see today are, and these are of course huge trends, data use, mostly, but not only with AI, because AI requires data. Data feeds AI, but data can also be used in other environments than AI. But AI, of course, is a very good example. I see a lot of contextual interactions. So in other words, we have more and more interactions, but we need those interactions to be, of course, customized. They need to feel like human to human. They need to be, of course, real time. They need to be any channel, and they need to know where you are, who you are, what's happening now, so that it's as seamless and as easy as possible. I see also authentication, because for contextual interactions, I need to be authenticated. So of course, these days it's led a lot by biometry, and biometry makes great progresses. And of course, last but not least, notarized trusted services, like all the cases we see leveraging blockchain. Of course, all these trends have different faces, different applications, different time to market as per vertical and regions, but the knowledge and expertise in Worldline is one, and it's growing.
Thanks, Nicolas. Your example of the SMS reminds me of the QR, which was primarily used for logistics, and now is something that we can't do. I mean, we can never do without in the payment space. So thanks for that, Nicolas. So Santi, you are sitting at the head of the Mobile Competence Center. You've seen how mobile is growing, and frequently it is touted as the future of payments by many people in the payment space. So what are the sort of trends that you are seeing in the mobile space?
Thanks, Sunil, for the question and for the opportunity to be here today. Before answering your question, just to have in mind which are the main challenges when you talk about the mobile payment for the end users, for the retailers, and for the banks that are providing this. So the payment has to be convenient, it has to be quick, it has to be secure, and it has to be trustful. And with this in mind, maybe I can highlight 5 or 6 trends that I could highlight around mobile payments. The first one is the contactless payments. We have seen that after the COVID pandemic, the people is using less cash, even less credit cards, and the mobile growth has had an acceleration that was not happening before. So this is a trend that is coming here to stay, and hopefully providing addable services with all the things that we can do with a mobile. Associated to that, the second trend would be the biometric payment. At the end, when we use these devices, we use different biometrics to identify the users. No need to introduce a PIN in a PIN pad of a payment terminal machine. So the biometric, the facial recognition could be the more common one, despite the mask that in many countries we need to use because of the pandemic is a constraint. But there are other means like the fingerprint, even the full hand recognition, or even the voice recognition, no? That can be used as a main for this biometric payment. A third trend would be the mobile wallets. No? In this convenience I was commenting, it's very important that and that to see that users are using these mobile wallets. For instance, in Europe, I have some statistics that 69% of the users are using a mobile wallet in any moment of their life. Okay, so it's a huge number of people. Because this is easier to do, they have a lot of added value features associated where they can choose different cards, but it's also having some constraints, no, in this, because maybe I have to install different apps for different wallets from different providers, and I also have to maintain the credentials when moving from one to another. No? So one of the trends is also like companies like Worldline trying to provide solutions when we can integrate multiple wallets and all these credentials in a single place altogether. No? A fourth trend could be the mobile point of sales. We see that in many countries, mobile devices are being used as a payment terminal. It can be very helpful for small and medium merchants that maybe they cannot afford the full payment terminal, but they already have a mobile that can be transformed with the right software and the right security elements on that as a transactional element to interact with their customers. No? And a fifth trend would be the peer-to-peer payments. No? We see that consumers are starting to pay digitally instead of cash. No? So why not doing this on a peer-to-peer, person-to-person, using their mobiles for doing this type of transference of money on different means. No? And all of them, as Nicolas was saying, very related with a trend that is altogether associated to that, which is artificial intelligence. No? Because at the end, we need artificial intelligence to control that the fraud, to prevent and even to anticipate this fraud and to detect as quick as possible in all these payment challenges associated to the mobile payment and this part of having a trustful and security mean. So this would be my challenges around mobile payments.
So, Santi, just to add to what you're saying in terms of the mobile POS, what you just said. So in Worldline India, we have the soft POS, which is the ability to accept through NFC. But what we've also added to the application is the ability to do link pay as well as accept through QR. So we're giving merchants the opportunity to accept multiple channels through multiple channels in an asset-light device, their own device. So I'll get back to you, Stephan. Innovation, like and what Nicolas correctly highlighted, is one of those very amorphous things. When everything clicks, it makes a lot of sense. And it's always a fairly tricky thing in the payment space, because when what looks like innovation right now may suddenly not look like it 6 months down the line, because of the pace that the payment space is evolving at. I mean, if you look at a country like India, there are always these new fintechs who are coming in and disrupting. I mean, just being absolute disruptors, both in the offline and online space. So what are we at Worldline and Worldline Labs particularly doing to foster innovation?
Yeah, thank you, Sunil. As you can imagine, and as you said, in our industries, innovation is key, and this has been translated in the corporate values of Worldline. So we have 4 corporate values. Innovation is one of them, and I'm very glad of this, because that facilitates my job. And then the 3 others are excellence, cooperation, and empowerment. And you can imagine that cooperation, I mean, the 4 of them relates and will facilitate that mindset you need to have as far as innovation. I tend to consider, and we tend to consider that you need, you can work on three things to be an innovative company or to try to be an innovative company. The first thing is the mindset, and this is all across the company. What you want to try to do is that mindset is present everywhere and in every domain. Then you need a bit of formal organizations, because just to impulse that mindset and make sure that it keeps where you want it to be. And the last thing I will highlight is openness to others, is avoid to work together and be open to the outside world and work with the outside world. So quickly on these three areas, on the mindset, what we did more than 15 years ago, and it still exists, so it's still active, so it demonstrates how good it is. We did create WIN, the Worldline Innovation Network. And the idea of WIN is to have a set of experts in various countries. Probably 50 of them are very active. We have more than 3,000 followers. And these people, they organize events or occasions to promote, stimulate, facilitate, and very important, to valorize the innovation. So we have things like idea incubation initiatives that are working all year long, but also every year we organize a contest, the WIN Awards, where we recognize and we ask people to show what they have done as a project, concrete things. So we are not in the domain of ideas. We are really looking at what did happen in the previous year that was innovative in the business area, in the technology area, in the small things that will continue and grow one day. And this is quite successful. Last year, we had more than 100 projects that were presented and representing almost the company, because it was in 17 countries. We have winners because it's an award. And so we organize for these winners an expedition with the winner leagues, the learning expedition. And we take the winners with some top managers in a country, every year a different country, and we offer the possibility to see what's happening in the political arena, in the business arena, in the universities in this country as far as innovation. I mentioned top management at several places. It's very key to have the support of top management on all these initiatives. If not, you can set up the initiative, but then it will end up dying a few years after, and this is not what you do. And I must say that at Worldline we have that support, and this is very good. On the organization front, obviously you have the labs, and I just described the activity of my lab before, but we have labs in our different global business line in different countries that will have more or less the same activity as mine, which is more corporate. And then we have set up a few years ago an international expert community. And here we gather the experts from all over the world. They will try to share knowledge, to work together on topics that they feel are innovative topics. And in order to give some visibility on what they are doing, every year they organize an event in various countries. I know there is one in India, there is one in Iberia, and I see Santi, so there is one in Spain, and then we do it as well in France and other countries, which is the Tech Forum and Explore, where they will showcase their expertise and they will showcase their achievements of the past year. One side effect of this expert community is that it's a very good tool to manage career paths for experts, which is a key concern for companies like ours. In the in the organization domain, the other organization or community that I can mention, and especially today because I have two distinguished representatives of this organization, is the scientific community. And so we have some of our best experts that are grouped into a so-called scientific community, and they will work on what I will call the thought leadership. So basically try to imagine and describe what our possible futures will be. And some of these possible futures obviously will materialize. And you can imagine that for me, it's an inspiration to choose the topics on which I will be working with my lab. And finally, the openness to others. This is about co-creation. This is about open innovation. We have networks of partners, either in the academic world or in the startup world. And every year we materialize that cooperation in a yearly event, which is the ePayment Challenge, where we take challenges very often brought by our customers, and we put those challenges on the table, and we ask fintech, startups, and different organizations to work fast on those challenges and try to propose a solution to us that obviously leverage services and products from Worldline.
Thank you, Stephan. I echo you on the Worldline scientific community now, having been part of it along with Santi and Nicolas for the past few months. I think the interaction that goes on from different geographies and different topics will certainly come out with workable, deployable solutions. But I have a follow-up question on the WIN Awards. I was fortunate enough to be asked to be a judge on the WIN Awards, and I saw a number of fantastic, projects that were submitted by different. I'm going to put you on the spot here, but can you talk a little bit about a few of the memorable projects on there? One or two projects that you think that come to top of mind?
I think really, one that will be of top of my mind, because in this week I heard about it, and it has been discussed in some areas in the domain of AI, artificial intelligence, but applied to health. So we are a bit far from payment here, but in some of the experts, they have that liberty to work on some topics to explore the technology in itself that then we can reuse for payment, obviously. And we have a team that has been working on with some labs in the health domain in how to identify lung disease and lung cancer to assist radiologists. And this started almost as a project between experts to explore the technology, and the results were so good that this is going on with that organization on the lung cancer, and it will probably end up being something that will be used one day, and that will be of high interest for all of us as citizens. Obviously, that's one that will come top of my mind, because so unique in its importance for the community.
Sure. Thank you, Stephan. So, Nicolas, you and I have been talking quite a bit on stablecoins and CBDCs, and I've also seen you presenting a number of to organizations like the ECB and other banks, etc. on this. And I know you've been ahead of the curve as far as stablecoins and CBDCs are concerned. Can you let us know about the general sort of topic of stablecoins and CBDCs, and what are the sort of advances that Worldline has made in this area? Because this is of particular interest to us, as you and I have been talking. In India, the Reserve Bank is likely to launch a pilot. Reserve Bank of India is likely to launch a pilot of CBDCs towards the end of the year, and a lot of people and a lot of our clients who are indeed banks will be very interested to know about this particular topic.
Sure. And as per I was explaining just before, given technologies can be summoned in various forms to solve various problems in various cases. And Worldline has been digging and learning and testing and building and operating blockchain-based solutions for more than 6 years now. I mean, we walk the walk. As I always say, creating a smart contract and publishing it on a public blockchain is one thing. Deploying your infrastructure is another thing. Operating your infrastructure with real customers at the end and rendering a service is yet again another thing. So it's really something that needs to be taken from an operational standpoint, really. So since the beginning, we really always saw the stablecoin and CBDCs as obvious use case, but as often the window took quite a while to really open. And actually, well, I say thank you to Facebook and Libra and DM because they accelerated the pace and they really put the topic under the spotlight and really made people realize the possibilities, what was now within reach for lots of different players, and what could be created for us as end customers and for us as businesses. So all in all, stablecoin in its really broadest sense is really a digital countermark trading environment that is fully notarized. In other words, you can have assets like €1, 100 miles with a rental car or 1 hour massage. Then you have a digital representation of these that can be traded. And by traded, I mean they can be purchased, transferred, and redeemed by various users of this trading environment. So in order to create that, we have a live platform called the Digital Asset Management Platform that provides all of these features natively. A couple of examples that we can disclose because these are already, let's say, customers that we have advertised. We have more, but these two examples we have advertised. We first used our platform to tokenize physical gold coins and bars with our customer DaVinci. So in other words, instead of having gold coins and gold bars in your pockets or even at your bank and exchanging it, selling it to other people, and it has to change banks each time, the physical gold stays at one bank, and then only the digital certificate, the proof of ownership of given coins, not any coins with a specific serial number on it that belong to you when you trade it. Now this very coin does not belong to you anymore, but it belongs to the person you sold it to. So it's easier to carry those digital certificates than the actual gold on oneself. The other use case is we created event tokens for soccer fans for our customer RCS, which is targeting the African Nations Soccer Cup and the Qatar World Cup in 2022. And here the idea is to allow soccer fans all around the world to be able to put some money on the side for that event and to be able to spend that event around soccer. And by that, they can, of course, purchase transportation. They can purchase hotel nights. They can purchase restaurants. They can purchase team shirts and footballs, everything they want, thanks to that currency. So what we see is that major retailers, service providers, cities, banks, states, they are all looking to issue specific tokens based on different types of assets, depending on the vertical we're talking about, to provide a real-time, fully notarized payment rail. So today, as you mentioned, we work with major banks, major states, retailers, service providers, and worldwide industrials, so that they can, and I'm just quoting them, so that they can master their payment flows, their loyalty services, and often their multi-party services, and even more. One thing that could be interesting is for people to watch our latest video on digital currency for banks that is published on LinkedIn, but maybe we can share the link where we demo our platform seen from the end users. So we have wallets, we have payment terminals, and we show how we can, exactly as we do today, make very simple, very user-friendly types of payments, but that are based on a stablecoin rail. And the great thing about it is that it even works in what we call the offline mode, which means that when you are somewhere where you don't have internet access, I know it's rare, but it still exists. Like you are in a metro station, like 3 stories underground, and you need to make a payment. Well, that payment needs to occur no matter what. And with stablecoins, we're also able to create that kind of payment, even without internet connection. So lots of things going on, really great topics.
So I also think we should mention that stablecoins are the ones, while under the broad aegis of cryptocurrencies, are not the speculative kind of coins that which grab the headlines. That's
exactly.
not that way.
No, exactly. There's the stable coins and the, by definition, unstable coins, which are the public cryptocurrencies, like, just to name a few, like Bitcoin, Ether, and all these type of cryptocurrencies that are not backed up by anything. They are just an asset, but not a backed up asset, which makes the whole difference. It's a whole world in between them. But here, really, we're talking about fully backed up assets.
So just another follow-up question on CBDCs. Can we talk about the work that we are doing on CBDCs?
Sure. CBDCs and stablecoins are, I wouldn't say 2 sides of the same coin, but one is real. CBDC is central money, so it's issued by central banks, and it's a money that is fully backed by the states who are issuing it. And stable coins are, let's say, quote, quote, private versions of that, which can represent fiat currencies. So we can have private version that represents euros, that represent pounds, that represent dollars, that represent yens, etc. But it's not issued by a central bank. It can be issued by a private commercial bank. It can be issued by a digital player. It can be issued by a retailer. It can be issued by a city. It could be issued by all other types of entities. But what it represents is not central money, because only central banks have the right and the ability to deal with central money. So what we do with CBDCs, of course, CBDCs is really a very hot topic. Most, if not all, of the states in the world are really looking into it. Of course, as the number 1 payment service provider in Europe and number 4 in the world, we are, by definition, in contact with lots of central banks and lots of banks in general. Of course, we discuss a lot about this. Like I mentioned, we have also a demo that is, we have a product, and that product is demoed in a video that's been published recently. So without getting more into details, because I'm not allowed to, we are in very close discussions with lots of major players who are currently willing to move forward with such a service. But the question is, like I mentioned earlier on, making POCs and things like that with a blockchain is one thing. Providing a blockchain-based service for millions, if not billions of people, is totally a different story. Like I always say, if we want to have a mean of communication, you and me, we can simply take 2 yaourt pots and 1 string. It will work. If we want to scale it up to millions of people, that, of course, that's a lot of yaourt pots, lots of strings, but lots of knots. It's not going to scale up. So that's why it's a totally different problem to solve.
Thank you, Nicolas. So, Santi, at the Mobile Competence Center, you've been working on a number of solutions such as conversational transactions, conversational commerce, as well as our partnership with Facebook as a service provider for WhatsApp for Business API. Can you talk a little bit more about these solutions and how they benefit users? So before you start, Santi, I have to tell you, that in one of the innovation sessions, when I showed the slides that you kindly provided on the WhatsApp for Business, one of our clients was extremely excited about it to see the potential use cases for customer interaction. So Santi, please.
Okay, yes, just to comment. No? Let's think how we were communicating 10 years ago with our family and our friends. No? So most of us, we were using mails and phone calls. And today, 10 years after, I think no one of us sends an email to a friend, to a family for personal issues, maybe for very specific things. And obviously, it has been transformed by instant messaging, no? And all these solutions like the WhatsApp and many others providers. No? For instance, WhatsApp nowadays, it's being used by 2 billion users worldwide, being India the top country with, I think, around 400 million users, active users using WhatsApp. No? So if today we use WhatsApp between our family and our friends, why we don't use this with our business to interact with them? No? Most of the business today, they are still using all channels, to my knowledge. They are not taking benefits where the users are. No? The idea is that the business have to be where the business are. And this is one of the trends, no? Because another thing is, and my team has been developing during this decade, and we are still developing many mobile apps, of course, but at the end, the user is somehow tired of having to choose the mobile app of a concrete provider just because of a concrete convenience. No? In the past, we talked with, for instance, with Nicolas, the concept of instant apps and many other things, but at the end, the users, they want the opposite, no? That we move to an app that they already have, like WhatsApp for Business, okay? And that the brands provide them the service through there. No? Imagine a simple case. No? I want to buy a ticket from an airline company. Why do I have to look for the app of the concrete airline company or the concrete seller of apps, sellers of flights? So I prefer to go to my WhatsApp, look to the brand that is providing the service, and then start interacting with them, buying the ticket to them directly there, this interaction. And instantaneously, I can even get a booking in my calendar, in my Google Calendar, about this travel, and get my ticket also in the WhatsApp and my QR code to access also the flight. No? So all this is the convenience that the user is looking for. So obviously, most of the transactions that nowadays are done through a contact center can be simplified through an instant messaging like WhatsApp for Business. With chatbots that are somehow trying to tackle and to reply to the things that can be automated. And when this is not possible, because everything is not possible to be automated, then they are transferred to the proper agent to solve the issue. No? And you were commenting, no, this conversational commerce. No, this is the new trend. It's a prediction by some of the consultants like Gartner that in the coming years, most of the commerce will be done through this means instead of done through apps. No? So this is why we, as Worldline, we have signed this year a partnership with Facebook to be a business service provider of WhatsApp for Business API. And we are helping our clients, as you were saying, in organizing workshops where we can work on many different use cases. It's at the end the power of the innovation that we can put in place, and also the imagination from all of us together to think in these use cases and help them to implement them thanks to this partnership.
Perfect. So, Santi, just if you could spend another minute or two talking a little bit about conversational commerce, because I think it's still, especially in India, it's still a fairly new concept. So can you just talk a little bit more about that? Yes.
In fact, not only conversational commerce, but WhatsApp for Business API is really new. Yes. It's only 3 years old. Yeah. It's 2018. So it's really new. And all this conversational commerce is something that has been evolved during these 2-3 years of the existence of this solution, because initially it was starting in a pure conversation. We are not talking anymore about sending messages. It's about conversations between a user and the concept of a 24 hours conversation, would say window, okay, in order to solve the issue. And what is conversational commerce? Conversational commerce is the idea that I can have a brand that is providing a catalog of different products through the WhatsApp with the new features that will be introduced this month. You will be able to see in a more interactive and usable interface pictures of the different products of your catalog. It's using the Facebook catalog, by the way. And then you will be able to choose directly and to send to build your basket directly in WhatsApp and also to using a pay by link option to pay at the end the transaction and finalize the transaction fully in WhatsApp without the need of going to an external website, an external app, nor anything else. No. So this is the new trend. We need users are used to use WhatsApp. So I give always an example. No, my mother, it's 80 years old. She has a mobile, but she's unable to use any mobile app. But WhatsApp, she's using every day to interact with the family, with the friends. And if there are some transactions that she can do there, it will be easier. She doesn't need to learn a new interface, a new application to download anything. So at the end, conversational commerce can benefit also of this potential of this type of solution.
Sure. So Santi, I'm just going to ask you the next question. I mean, you were the lead author on the white paper, which is the in-store payments reimagined. I was fortunate enough to have a read at it when it was still in its working position. Can you highlight some of the sort of insights that you and your team garnered from having written this paper? And I think the paper is already out, right?
Yes, the paper, as you said, it was published last week, the beginning of last week, and I recommend any of you to download it and to go into the full details. But I would like to focus maybe in the main takeaways of the paper. In the paper, if you download it, you will see that there are 10 takeaways. Maybe I choose the more relevant ones of these 10. So the first one is that I want to highlight is that the new payment experience at the stores will accelerate the transformation of the stores. No? And this is something that I was commenting before. It has been accelerated by the pandemic. No? We have had most of the shops that were closed. Now we hope that they are opening again and introducing the right payment solutions with the right user journeys. It will help to accelerate this transformation and the digitalization of the store. No? And a second takeaway, and that is very related, is that all these new payment technologies that we want to introduce require a good experience. No? As I was saying, very convenient, very secure, very fast. But at the end, the good customer experience it's something that is relevant. And the more you invest in that, the more you will get in return on new transactions that you can generate. No? And this has been proved. So it's important to invest in the user experience on all these transactions. No? We are also experimenting new in-store journeys and also combine it with this omni-channel going to, I would say, to an opti-channel, no? Which is the optimal channel. And in these new in-store journeys, it's not only that I start a transaction in the store and I finish at home or vice versa. So we have all these type of new opportunities where the idea is to have the channel adapted to the user, not the user adapting to the channel. No? Another trend that I also mentioned before is the use of biometrics, no, as an enable for all these friction payments at the store, okay, that we want to have. And another important one of these takeaways is that we are seeing how experimenting the change from the self-checkout in many of the shops. You can start doing your self-checkout on different levels of autonomy to the full autonomous checkout, no? Where there is no one in the checkout process, and you just go to the store, you pick up your goods, and you leave, and you are invoiced, I would say, magically at the end because of the usage of different technologies like artificial intelligence, cameras, and many other technologies that are providing this autonomous checkout. No, obviously this is not possible in all type nowadays, no type of shops, but this is technology that in the coming days we'll see being more commoditized, no, and more available to any of the shops. No. Another thing that we have seen and we have explained it in this paper is that in the payment at the store is the emergence of the payment of the account-based payment. No? Until now, most of the payments were based on card-based payment. So now it's an account-based payment thanks to the new regulations and the new opportunities where I don't need anymore to have a card to pay, but I can pay directly from my account and with all the different margins that are associated to this type of payment. No? Also the payments with cryptocurrencies. No? Nicolas was explaining before all the new trends and so on. So obviously this is something we start to see how different merchants are starting to accept to pay with these cryptocurrencies for different purposes. Some of them in a more closed loop, in a more open loop, but this is something that is also a trend for the future. No? And maybe a last trend on this selection of the 10 takeaways I was commenting is that it's a fragmented adoption. No? It's obvious that all this document is not addressing all the trends in all countries of the world because there are different cultural and social aspects and infrastructure and also regulations. No? Some countries like Europe, maybe the States with different regulations than the other countries in Asia or in South America. So this will lead to different speeds of this adoption of all these technologies in different countries. And also at the end will require more localized strategies with a global view, but with localized strategies to take advantage of all these technologies.
Thank you, Santi. Paper is an excellent paper, and if anyone's interested in it, please reach out to the organizers and we'll have it sent to you. So, Stephan, just wanted to ask you, what are some of the big things that you and your team are working on in Worldline Labs? So just for reference, I'm actually interacting with your team on building a AI FRM engine for India. So we're keen to understand what you and your team are big things that you are working on. Hopefully we see something coming out.
Sure. Yeah, I can highlight some domain, and some of them has already been mentioned either by Santi or Nicolas, obviously, when they mentioned the trends and the things we foresee for the future. But definitely in the payment space and payment services, we are looking at biometry in all its forms for obvious reasons of authentication. You know that in some countries in Europe, face recognition will not be acceptable as a form. So we look to others like the Palm or sometimes even behavior. So the behavior of the people while using either a device or their browser. So this is in all the area of authentication, but biometry applied to it. Then we have a lot of interest for communication between the devices. So the mobile, obviously, but the payment terminal, because payment terminal still exists today. And so we are testing technologies like inaudible sounds or lights, or even some new generation of QR codes in order to have the communication that needs to be established between the mobile and any device you can have for the payments. Then in this payment space, the smart speakers. So Santi mentioned the conversational commerce, but smart speakers in some countries, the adoption is at a pace that is really high, and so our interest is on the how to integrate. If we use those devices in order to commerce, then how will we integrate payment in those devices with all the aspects and implications that this could have? And you mentioned AI, so AI and machine learning. You are right; it's a key area for us, and definitely on the fraud detection space. A lot of opportunities, and we are quite advanced here in having modelize and decide which kind of models and techniques we want to use with very good results. But we are also exploring the area of that we call smart routing, that you can apply either to acceptance or acquiring, and be able dynamically, based on your recent activities, transaction activities, to decide where you want to route your transaction. For instance, to have the best score or the best price. In security and yes, sorry.
No, nothing.
Okay, I heard some beginning of question. Security and privacy, big area for us. And there is one that I think might sound futuristic for some, but it's a very interesting one, is in the area of quantum cryptography, or more precisely post-quantum cryptography. We are for several years now working on with others on trying to define what will be the security algorithm of tomorrow that will be quantum computers proof. So the idea is not to invent an algorithm for quantum computers, but an algorithm for standard computers, how they exist today. But if there is an attack that is conducted from a quantum computer, then to make sure that we are proof. Why are we doing this? Because all research says that by the end of the 20s or beginning of the 30s, quantum cryptography might be a reality, and the algorithm we use today, they can be cracked in less than a second or two. So that might be very important for our payment industry. Then the last thing I can mention is maybe on the CRM, the contacts. So we have product lines for all these type of services that our customers use. And in this area, with new channels like video, it becomes important to study what about privacy. Is a clerk from a bank, for instance, going to want to have his face used in that channel, or can we use new technologies in order to change that? But if we do so, what about security? How do we make sure that the person I'm talking to is the person I think I am talking to, both ways, either the customer or the agent? So we are trying to mix the areas of our research here on authentication and biometry and all that to see if there are clever things to invent for tomorrow.
Thank you, Stephan. I'm glad we're working on security, because in India, one of the biggest reasons that was cited for people not using digital payments was the lack of security.
Yeah, when you think payment,
yeah,
you look at it from the technical angle or from the regulation angle, it's about security. Yeah.
Yeah. So, Nicolas, lucky last. So we've been talking about blockchain, and blockchain. Unfortunately, blockchain has gotten lost in being equated to currencies and cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin. But the fact is that it's not just about currencies, and there's a lot more sort of applications to blockchain. Can you tell us some of the trends that you see around this particular area, and the use cases for blockchain beyond the obvious?
No, sure.
Yeah.
It's true that we only scratched the surface here, and blockchain really is an automated, notarized engine. And throughout the years, we've been working on the blockchain, discussing with different customers in different regions. We have used the blockchain as a solution, as a tool to solve many other types of problems. And at some point, we just wanted to really categorize those problems, and we ended up with three main categories, three main families of topics. Big families, but three families. So the first one, we already mentioned it, even though we only scratched the surface, it's currencies. Okay. A second one, where it's also very logical fit, it's to manage identity, and identity in its broader sense, like people's identity, of course, but machines' identity. When we talk about machine-to-machine payments, it can be about properties, land, flats, building, houses. It can be also parts, but also it can be history like diplomas and experience. When you hire a gardener, wouldn't you love to have for him a way to show for sure what he has done in the past, the great gardens he worked on, so that you can hire him in full knowledge of what he's done, of what he hasn't done? It's a great thing, especially in those days when we talk about gig economy. Gig economy is also something where we need to be sure about the identity of someone, and also the history of that person, what project he worked on, how did it end it also. We also see that major states are also working on identity, probably because with the digital transformation, payment had to evolve from paper cash to digital. Identity has also to evolve the same way from paper identity to digital identity. So it's also something that is very, very important and very at the top of the list of discussions with states and in between states. The third main family of use cases after currency and identity is traceability. And traceability, again, in a very broad sense, it can be products components, like for instance, which generators make is in your car today. In most cases, when you buy a car, the car's make doesn't even know what is the exact generator that is in your car. So that's why when they have to make a recall, they have to recall too many cars that are actually necessary. So it would be great to use the blockchain as a way to make sure that this very car has been assembled with this generator, with this product, this part, this part, this part, this part, this part, which would allow, of course, security, but also a way to guarantee the conformity of a car and the compliance. Of course, it works for cars and lots of things. And we think about it also, it's more and more compliance, even for repair and maintenance, is more and more important. When you look now at cars, which all have sensors, cameras, imagine somebody just, hit your car in the bumper. All your sensors are just, misaligned. You go to a garage, they need to check the compliance to make sure that all the information of the sensors and the cameras sent to the intelligence of the car are properly set. Else the thing will say, else the car will not behave properly. So that's why conformity is also something that is very important, and to be able to ensure that is guaranteed for your security and everybody's security is super important. And we've been working on that already since March 2018 with the origin product that we built with Bureau Veritas. The goal was to be able to track and trace any type of information, whether parts, subparts, conformity system, into a full process. So we've been doing that for lots of different industries, the food chain, retail, or services. And this technology based on blockchain allow any type of service to be totally securely, step by step, notarized into a blockchain for further information. And as blockchain is really the perfect cross-connect platform between people who want to do business with each other, but they don't natively trust each other. It also allows to create a single point of truth between parties, like, for example, our merchant loan platform that leverages the blockchain to allow instant loans to merchants by a credit provider, automatizing the installments as a percentage of the card payments that the merchant receives until he reimburses the loan. It's simple, it's easy, it's efficient.
Thank you so much, Nicolas. I want to thank the three of you, Stephan, Santi, and Nicolas. This has been a very, very enlightening session. A lot of takeaways. If anyone wants to get more information from what these three gentlemen have spoken about, please reach out to the organizers and we'll make sure you get them. I want to thank again, wonderful session that I've had today. I want to thank the three of you for your time, and a lot of knowledge was gained. Thank you so much. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.